Are you ready to live your dream? Motivation, inspiration, and passion. That's what it takes to make dreams come true. Welcome to the Nadia Sahari Show. Our guests will share important tips, insights, and knowledge to help you fulfill your dreams of success. Here's your host, actress, author, entrepreneur, Nadia Sahari.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're sitting down and relaxing and listening to my show, because I have an exciting guest for you today. But first, before we start, let me tell you that we know that we are all dreamers, right? We are. We all dream of writing a book, acting in a movie, getting a record label, being an entrepreneur, being a life coach. Whatever we want to be, we can do it. And that's why I have the guests that I invite, or they sometimes ask me if they want to be on my show. I invite guests to share their secrets, their journey, and their challenges. How did they do it? What are they doing now to maintain that success? How did they reach that dream? Because we all fall down, but the standing up is the important part of our journey. So my guest today, you won't believe this. Oh my goodness, this is great. I love this. He's a relationship expert. He's a counselor, seminar speaker, relationship coach. And you know we can all use that. I'll be the first one to admit it. So, and without further ado, let me introduce to you Steve Sapato. Welcome to the Nadia Sahari Show.
Thank you very much, Nadia. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm so excited. I don't know if I've ever had a relation. Oh, yes, I did. But kind of it's called something else because there are different names for those types of things. Relationship
I've been
coach.
called many different names. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. But yes, so I am so excited. And so what you do is you help people to find out what their dream is, to reach their dream. You even help them find a great relationship so they can find the right person. So let's go back a little bit. What was it and what age was it that inspired you to do something like this?
I think throughout the years, and I'm pretty old right now, but throughout the years you run across different things that coalesce and make you choose a certain path. And I've always enjoyed making a difference in people's lives. And so the relationship came when my second marriage was actually coming to an end, and I couldn't figure out why I had made such a bad decision in that relationship. And so I was reading. I had attended motivational seminars for a long time, and reading from the special people, and I got a chance to study with some of the gurus who do relationship work, and I just love that kind of thing. And so that, along with my public speaking, evolved into a nice career. And of course, I wrote my book, and the book is called The 20. You find it on Amazon. If you look it up by author, don't ask me why we can't find it by title, but you have to look it up by Steve Sapato. But the whole purpose of the book, and the book is called The 20 Things That You Need to Learn in Order to Find the Love of Your Life. And I say learn. A lot of times when I was out promoting the book originally, people would ask me, and I was single at that time, have you found the love of your life? And I'd go, no. And they would jump all over me saying, well, how can you teach us how to find the love of our lives if you don't have one yourself? And and so you'd go, well, you're misunderstanding the book. And really, that came about because I had a whole bunch of people over the years who would come and talk and unburden themselves. I'm a pretty good listener, so they would do that type of thing. And in listening to them, I heard the problems and I heard the solutions built right in. And so many times when I put the book together, I interviewed more than 2,400 people in and out of relation. Oh, yeah, it's a huge undertaking. I spent 1.5 to 2 years really interviewing people, finding out what worked in a relationship, what didn't work, and you'll see some of those examples in the book. But what it amounts to is most of us go into a relationship because we, quote-unquote, fell in love. And that's with our heart, and that's with our emotions. And the reason they don't work out is because we find out that even though we have this wonderful passionate connection for that person, they might not be a friend to us. So we don't have a lot of things in common. We don't have a lot of things we can do together. And so we go our different ways until eventually we say, hey, I'm just going to go someplace else. And that's what I found. This is my third marriage, and we've been married 5 years now, and we are still madly in love. And the reason for that is because we were best friends, and then we actually evolved into a relationship. So I think it came about the same time, but we got to know each other as friends first, but not very long before we started to have this romantic connection. And what's maintained throughout this whole time then is that we have this friendship. So even when we have disagreements, and think about this, when you have a disagreement with your partner, your spouse, or somebody you're in love with, a lot of times you're just screaming and hollering sometimes. But even when you have those disagreements, you can walk away and you're not going to talk to them for 2 or 3 days, and you're not, it's really uncomfortable. It's a miserable feeling. But if you have a friendship with someone, if you have a friend and you have an argument with that friend, usually you get over that quickly because they're your friend, and you can say, you know what, I forgive you. It's okay, no big deal, and I hope you forgive me. We don't do that in a relationship when it's just based upon heart and emotions. We hold on to those heart feelings, and we create something much worse out of that than what the argument was about. But if they're our best friend, we let it go much more quickly.
That's right.
And that's what, yeah.
You know why? Because when you're out there in the world, in front of public and friends or whatever, you put on your best behavior and best personality, and everyone thinks you're wonderful. But when you're in the house with your mate or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your husband or your wife or whomever, it's a whole different story.
Yes, it is. That's right.
And you're not the same person. You're a different person. And just like you said, if one says something out of line, the other one holds a grudge or doesn't forgive, and then you get into this mad, heated argument, and then next thing you know, you're putting distance on each other, and then you're saying bye-bye.
That's right. That's exactly right. And it's funny because I've known couples who've gotten married. One couple that I remember right off the top, they got married 3 times over the course of several years. Married, divorced, fell back in love, quote unquote, got married again, divorced, fell in love again, got married again, and divorced. And when they started the third one, we were like, you've already done this twice. And they went, but this time is different. Well, it wasn't. What they had were the same problems, only once they got away from each other, they didn't remember the problems. And the problems were simple, that they didn't have a friendship going. And so when the third marriage ended, they actually decided to go their own ways. But it's amazing what people don't understand is that I talk about this. Love should be friendships on fire. And that's what creates a long-lasting, forever relationship, is when you know that you can count on them. And you do things together, and you grow together. Many times we grow apart, and that's one of the great challenges is that when we grow apart, you could be 20 when you get married, and the odds of you staying together by the time you're 60 are pretty slim, because in that young growth, today I want to skydive, but tomorrow, I don't want to skydive anymore. It's like eating vegetables. When you were a kid, you may not have liked lima beans, and when you're an adult, suddenly you go, hey, I kind of like lima beans. And that's with our lives, too. What we liked when we were in our 20s and early 30s, we won't like when we're in our 40s and early 50s. And unless the person you're with grows with you, you're going to grow apart. And unfortunately, that's the case. So you got to find somebody who's your best friend and then see if you can grow together. And that's going to be one of your greatest challenges.
I like that, and it's true.
Yeah. And then along with that, I've been a speaker for, again, 40 years now. And being a speaker and being able to talk about these kind of things, I really enjoy, because when people get in touch with me, a lot of times they're single, and they'll say, I need help finding a mate. And I always go back to what I learned in the book, and I help them and, of course, work with them. And then a lot of times they ignore my advice. And I'm always amazed when they're paying somebody to help them find this significant other. And then they go a different direction. One of the things that I absolutely insist on is when a woman tells me that she's looking for a guy, we talk through all this and we hash it all out, and then they find somebody, and I start asking them the questions. And one of the questions is the new guy in your life, the one you're quote unquote falling in love with now and so passionate about, are they married? And they go, oh no, they've been out of their relationship for a year. And I go, okay, out of their relationship or divorced? Oh. And they go, well, they're in the process of divorce, or they got divorced like 3 months ago, or the divorce was final last year, and I go, no man should get into a relationship with a woman until he's been absolutely divorced for a year. And they go, no. I'm telling you, if he's been divorced and then he jumped into another relationship that may have lasted 4 or 5 months, he's still not ready. He has to be out of that divorce and out of the next relationship for a year, because men have this wonderful habit of wanting to attach to another woman. And so many times I've had ladies ignore that advice, get their heart broken, and then be really upset that their love life is a disaster. And I go, you created it when you got into this situation where you dated somebody before they were ready to be in a relationship. Now, I always say most men don't understand that they're not ready for the next relationship. It takes that year of being alone. They got to have personal growth. They got to have attentiveness for their own needs before they will start to realize that the kind of woman they're really looking for. Otherwise, they're just looking for somebody to fill the emptiness in their heart.
That's right.
And that's a really tough lesson.
That's right. And they want the sympathy over the hurt and the pain that the divorce caused. And always the new woman is going to give you her shoulder, and the new man will give you their shoulder to cry on. It's just like people who, after a funeral, get together and weep and console each other, and next thing you know, they're in bed together. And
that's right.
And they think they're in love, and like Liz Taylor did with Eddie Fisher. You know,
oh my gosh!
Remember?
That was
I read that. I read it.
I grew up. Yeah,
I didn't grow up
in
with
that era.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happened
I
with
grew up in that
her.
era.
Yeah, Eddie Fisher was
every
married
time.
to Debbie Reynolds, and he consoled Elizabeth Taylor when Mike Todd died. I read biographies. And then
I got you.
And then look what happened. He divorced Debbie, married Elizabeth, but it didn't last long.
No, that's right. Because they weren't friends.
No.
Right? They were passionate lovers and thought they had something there.
Right.
And that's what Hollywood a lot of times does, though. If you watch Hollywood, people jump around and around. You know, marriages don't always last. A few you'll find that last forever, and that's really cool when they know that they're with their best friend.
That's right.
And that's one of the challenges is that most of us don't really look at I tell people one of the things you have to understand is love is not easy. And because I'll say to somebody, hey, how's your love life? They go, oh, it's this or it's that. But it should be easy. And I go, no, it shouldn't be easy. We're trying to match up two people who have definitely different personalities to try and fit in the same mold. You're going to spend your time in the same little room for the next 20, 30, 40 years, which is called your living room. And it really takes a good connection in order to make that happen. So a lot of times people think they can just fall in love, and love will make it work. And you have to be able to go to classes. You have to be able to take a course on how to find that great relationship. Most people don't want to pay. You know, you say, hey, pay $500 for you to go find out how to find a great relationship. People go, well, I already know how to do that. Well, if you do, then you should be happily married, right? But they don't. And I put on relationship workshops and seminars. And I remember this one, I was actually in Moline, Illinois, putting one on, and I walked through a restaurant, saw this couple that I absolutely knew, and I had a couple extra tickets with me. And I just reached down and said, hey, how about you guys, after you get done eating here, come over and attend my relationship on love and relationships. And they were like, and the wife looked at me like she was horrified, and she threw this huge fit and told me to take my tickets and get lost.
Oh.
And I was like, wow, that's scary, because I was just trying to be nice and invite him for something to do for the evening. And it turns out that 2 years later they divorced. So they were probably already having problems.
Yes.
But neither wanted to admit it yet. And until you're willing to admit and learn what love is, and it's complicated.
Yes.
And you got to learn how to fall in love. You got to learn who to fall in love with. And you got to learn how to make it work after you've done those things. And that's tough.
I have a question. When you say be friends, how long should you be friends before you get intimate or become intimate?
Okay, there's the challenge. I tell people all the time, you should not have sex for the first 3 months of a relationship.
Okay.
And people look at me like, you've lost your mind, Steve, especially in today's society. You're crazy. We all have our needs. We all have our desires. And within that, women typically get attached more easily than men after you've had sex. And so the woman has sex with a guy on the third date or the seventh date or whatever it might be.
In some cases, the first date.
Well, it could be, yeah, that's right.
I've heard women do it the first night. I've heard that. I mean,
sure.
Yeah.
Well, and ask yourself how many people that you've met who had sex on the first date
Yes.
ever ended up in a long-term relationship or marriage?
Not
and the
very
answer
many.
is very slim. Yeah.
Yes.
And so if you understand that the reason that you're waiting 3 months, if you can do that, is because you're getting to know that person without the complication of sex that involves a woman a lot more. Because I've worked with people like this one woman I remember, she talked about she ended a 2-year relationship. That's what it was. She ended a 2-year relationship, and she was like, and that guy took advantage of me. That guy just used me for sex. That guy. And I'm like, wow, how can you say that? You were in a relationship for 2 years. And she says, because in the end, he didn't care at all. No. After 2 years, he finally figured out that you were not the one he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. And she was just adamant. And I said, okay, hold on. Did he force you to have sex for those 2 years? She said, well, no. I said, did you enjoy it? She said, it was great. I said, so there was no, you used him for sex because it was great. And maybe if I asked him, he'd say it wasn't so great. And she was like, well, what do you mean? And then I said, it was mutual. And that's all you got to understand. He just decided to get out of a relationship. And that's one of the things when I work with people is you have to understand that if one person says, this is not the relationship for me, you can be madly in love, crucially in love, heartbreakingly in love. If one person says, this is not the relationship for me, then you have to start understanding, especially if you tell them you're in love. If I'm in love with my wife and she looks at me and says, I'm getting out of this marriage because I'm not happy anymore, we'll try and work it out as best we can. But when she finally says, I'm done, I can't throw a fit. I can't be angry. I can't be mad because if it's not working for her, it won't work for me.
That's
and
right.
my goal in loving her is for her happiness. And if her happiness means I have to step out of the picture, then I should be willing to give up that part of my life in order to give her that happiness. And most people are so selfish, they go, it hurts me, but it hurts me. I understand that. Go cry, go fall down, go beat yourself up, but allow them to find their happiness because that's what love really is.
Yes, and let me ask you this question. You said you were friends before you married your wife. How long were you friends before you?
30 days. 30 days.
Okay.
We were working together and got to know each other a little bit and got to understand each other a little bit, went out for coffee a few times and probably dinner and started talking to each other about our lives and our problems as friends do. Yes. And we exposed each part of, like, hey, this part, hey, that's a terrible part. Hey, that doesn't sound good. And it says like, one of those where I hope you don't hate me because I have this kind of belief or I raised my kid this way or I did this in my last relationship. But you get to know them on a friendship level. And if you accept them on that friendship level and something else develops, it makes it a lot better now. My wife and I don't have any secrets now because we talked it all out before we ever fell in love. We talked about the horrible places we've been. We talked about how we didn't raise our children right or how our spouses cheated on us or how we cheated on our spouses. And now there's no secrets. Now we talk about it all the time. And that's really crucial.
So being a friend for 30 days is sufficient to get
well, it was
married.
for me.
Okay.
But it took us another year and a half to get married.
Oh, okay.
So we, and actually because of the work we were doing at that point in time, we traveled together 24/7 for a good 6 or 8 months.
Okay.
Spent the same time we didn't live together. She stayed in a hotel room, I stayed in a hotel room, but we were doing a lot of corporate work. And so we were always together. Okay. And after 6 or 8 months, we decided to share a hotel room when we traveled, and we did that. But it grew into a wonderful relationship, a friendship on fire that still is to this day.
Well, that's great. That is super. I love that. Well, let me ask, what advice would you give someone who would want to pursue a career such as yours, being a relationship coach or?
Well, and that's, I'm actually, I'll say divergent on that because what I've done over the last several years is I've become a speaking coach and I run a speakers academy. So the relationship work is fun and rewarding, and I do 1 or 2 workshops or seminars a year with that down in Tampa. But where I really make my money is by being a motivational or a corporate speaker and trainer. And so that's what I do now. And
this is your company, correct?
Correct. Yeah, speakertalks.com. Speaker Talks is my company.
Okay, so what's the difference between your Speaker Talks and TEDx?
Oh, yeah, TEDx. Well, TEDx is I'll say a not-for-profit because they don't charge people any money and they set up these wonderful events. But what happens on a TEDx, and as if you're a speaker or want to be a speaker or you have a message and you've been trying to get on a TEDx stage, I'll guarantee you that you've tried 5-10 times to get on a TEDx stage unsuccessfully. And the reason for that is because they might have a speaking, TEDx Tampa or TEDx, New Mexico or whatever they might have. And they'll have room for 10 or 12 speakers. But they take 10 of those 12 speakers from right there locally. They invite them. And while they put out what we thought for a long time, I was under the impression that everybody applied for these spots and they picked somebody. Well, 10 of the spots are already gone before they ever make them available to the public. And the last 2, they want to be local unless they find somebody exceptional from outside of the area. So the odds of you getting on a TEDx stage, unless you know someone, turns out to be very, very slim because you have 200 people applying for each slot that's open on a TEDx stage.
Amazing.
The reason, it's unless you know, the odds are against you by that huge amount. You will never, you'll think, I can get on this and I'm very good at this. And I've got tons of speaking friends who try and get on a TEDx stage because it brings you some notoriety.
Yes.
Here's what most people don't understand. There's more than 1,000 TEDx talks in the United States every year. And if there's 10 people who talk at every TEDx talk, that means there's 10,000 TEDx speeches that are available out on the internet. And I always ask people, how many have you looked at? How did you find this one? And somebody promoted a TEDx talk that you saw and you watched it. But how many times have you really watched more TEDx talks? And some people say a few. Most people say 1 or 2 a year. And that means there's 10,000 talks out there every year, and you listen to 2 or 3 of them. Which means the reason most people want to be on a TEDx stage is because we create our own expert and notoriety status. And so I put together speaker talks, and it's a paid opportunity. I charge people $900 to come to Tampa, like my next one's March 20th and 21st. $900 come to Tampa, be on the speaker talk stage with 14 other speakers, get a professional video out of it that creates their sizzle reel that they can offer to all the people that they want to speak in front of, and in front of a live audience of speakers and trainers and corporate entities who want to hire them. And so mine is for people who want to gain notoriety, want to gain the expert status of being seen on stage, or create a sizzle reel for their website that other people can now see what their expertise is. And when people see you on a quality stage with a quality video, including audio, it's not cell phone driven type thing where you can't hear them. This is top quality information that you're putting out. And people go, wow, I recognize that person as an expert. I should have that person speak at my next event or my next corporate gig, that type of thing. So mine is geared towards people who want to become, I don't want to say famous because that's not what we do, want to create an atmosphere with their expertise. And that's the difference between TEDx and speaker talks, is you can get on the speaker talk stage. All you have to have is $900. You can't get on the TEDx talk because they're already booked out with friends, relatives, and people they know.
Well,
so that's what I tell people.
Yes, that's almost like every business. Hollywood was like that forever and still is.
Yeah, that's right.
Let me ask you this. How many people attend your gatherings, your...
Oh, and my speaker talks?
Your seminars, your speaker talk seminars.
Yeah.
How many people are in the audience listening to the speakers that are up there that did pay to speak?
Yeah, it's a small audience. Between 50 and 75 typically are in the audience. Okay. But that's what I tell people for my workshops. If you were doing a relationship workshop with me, right, I limit it to only 20 people for that because I want to help those 20, and that means I have to get personal with it. That's the same thing we do at Speaker Talks because we don't just offer speakers on that. You'll have 14 or 15 speakers at each event. Uh-huh. But we have Ernie Davis is a speaking coach. I'm a speaking coach. And we also do workshops and seminars in that 2-day workshop, so our 2-day seminar. So we also teach people how to be better speakers. We teach them how to get speaking jobs. And we have people in the audience who potential candidates to hire them. So we have all these wonderful things out there that allow these people to grow in their abilities as well as promote themselves with the speaker reel they can create. But it's usually between 50 and 75 people that we have in, because they have to pay to attend. They have to come. They want to be able to learn how to be a better speaker too, and that's part of the challenge. You know, we don't charge. I think TED Talks charge. Last time I looked, they were at $72 for you just to walk in and listen to a TED Talks and our TEDx. And I didn't realize they charged, but it's like I think 72 was the last one I saw. Well, we're at right now. If you buy it before the end of the year, we're at $150, and you get 8 hours worth of speaker training, as well as hearing 15 great speakers. So we're
cool.
way ahead of. Yeah, we're way ahead of that.
Well, that's cool. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back, so don't go away, Steve.
Okay.
Check out the all-new Nadia Sahari Show. It's today's hottest new talk show and rated 5 stars on iTunes, featuring amazing guests and inspiring stories of today. All genres, all dreams, no limits. Visit thenadiasaharishow.com and get the app for Apple and Android. Easy streaming and listening. Have a business? Why not become a sponsor of the show and take your brand to the next level? Email us at info@thenadiasaharishow.com for our complete sponsor and advertising package deals. Let this show inspire you, motivate you, and educate you to your dream and to your success. Only on and always on the Nadia Sahari Show, the place where dreams really do come true.
And we're back with Steve Sapato, who is a relationship coach. Yay!
Yay!
And he has Speakers Talk.
Yes, I do.
Speakers Talk.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, Speaker Talk. That's right.
So what are the best resources that have helped you along the way for your career?
I think what you'll really find is it's the connections you make.
Yes.
When you really start looking into stuff, if you create relationships, I'm on LinkedIn all the time trying to teach people how to create relationships in order to grow businesses. Well, you and I know, I mean, the phraseology is, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Amen. It's always in everything, it's who you know.
That's right.
Yes.
So if you'll cultivate those relationships, and I mean, even if you just made a brief connection with somebody, send them an email. Send them a real letter that said, hey, it was a pleasure meeting you. They'll get that and go, what the heck is that? Somebody sent me an actual letter. Right? And don't make it a sales letter. Make it a, hey, it was nice to meet you, and we should have coffee sometime letter. Don't put your business card in there. Put your real name, your real phone number, and if you want, your email in there. But don't make it about business. Make it about, I want to get to know you.
Yes.
There's a group down in Tampa that's just looks like it's just starting to reform, but it was called TBBO, Tampa Bay Business Owners. And 7-8 years ago, it was a powerhouse thing that had 500 people who wanted to get to know each other and created some really nice business. And then somehow over the next 3 years, the people who were running it decided to go a different direction, and they became podcast hosts and started to run this and started to do that. And they got so busy, they said, hey, we're going to let that kind of go to somebody else. And they turned it over to somebody else, and it wasn't the same, and it disappeared.
It fizzled.
And just this month. Yeah, that's right. It fizzled. And just this month, they actually have what they call a TBBO reunion back down in Tampa. And they already had 50 or 60 people who said, I'm coming. And it was tonight down in Tampa. And I'm up in New York City working on speaking in a corporate gig up here. But otherwise, I'd have gone myself. But it was really cool to have those kind of connections with people that would make it work. And that's what everybody needs to do. You want to grow your business. You want to grow your knowledge. You want to be able to have people help you. Then you have to get to know them. Now, almost nobody does anything for free. That's what I'll tell you. But my big talk is, and I do it on LinkedIn, so if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, please jump in and look for Steve Sapato. But I offer you, hey, call me up. Let's throw some ideas around. What can I do to help you be more successful? And you never know what one idea will change your whole future.
Yes. And
that's what I'm all about. I want to help you. So give me a buzz sometime, and we'll talk and we'll chat about what it takes to help you change.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. I do this. I've been doing this for 10 years, and I missed 3 years because life changed and things happened. But I've had this for 10 years, and I love it. I don't get paid for it. I pay to do it. And
yep, that's right.
But I do have a large audience, and I'm on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and many, many, many platforms. And now I'm able to have sponsors, and I'm darn reasonable with my sponsors. I'm not in this to get rich quick or anything like that. I help people. I think what's interesting about that, yeah, and that's what you have to do, the passion, and we'll, talk about that, but the passion, but that's what I tell people too. When I started Speaker Talks last year, we're going into our second year of that for March, but people said, Steve, nobody's going to pay attention to you because you're too cheap, because there were a couple other groups out there that were charging $5,000 for you to get on your stage and talk. And I went, that's nuts, right? Yes.
If I'm a speaker, I don't want to spend $5,000 just to get a sizzle reel out of this. So I made it reasonably priced. I'm not out to get rich. They get 20 speakers on their stage at $5,000 a pop. They're making some real good green money, right?
That's right.
And I want to help them more than I want to get rich. So if I put 15 speakers out at $900 a pop, by the time I pay my hotel fees and my lunch and breakfast fees and my other guest fees, I'm making a few dollars. And there's a huge difference between getting rich. Oh, and I'm going to throw this in here. I've had somebody just called me up recently, and it's always I hate this thing. And it's one of those deals where people will tell me I'm a best-selling author. They'll look at me and say, I'll say, what do you do? And they go, well, I'm a best-selling author. I go, you have your own book? And they go, yeah. And then they show me this book, and they're one of 20 contributing authors, but they call themselves a bestseller, which they're not. And this is what bugs me, is I have the gurus, and I call them gurus anymore, and I'm not happy with gurus. I had a call the other night from a friend, an acquaintance that I've known for 25 years in the speaking business, a very successful speaker. And he's calling me up saying, hey, I haven't talked to you in a long time. And I'm like, oh, cool. It's great to reconnect. And then he gives me his sales pitch, which just irked the heck out of me. But he's now teamed up with that Shark Tank millionaire, I forget, Kevin Harrington. And he's teamed up with Tony Robbins.
Kevin
Harrington.
No.
That's his name.
No,
wait, that's
the shark.
No. You're talking about the
Kevin O'Leary.
Hold on. You're talking about the shark that's on Shark Tank right now.
Yes.
Okay, but there was a Kevin Harrington who was on like the first 2 seasons of this, and he's a millionaire.
I missed him.
He's a millionaire, but he's the one that every time he gets to promote that he's a Shark Tank, one of those Shark Tank millionaires because he was on it.
I see.
And unfortunately, he. One of the gurus, Tony Robbins, one of the gurus, this guy, one of the gurus, they call us up and they say, hey, I can make you a best-selling author. That's big, woofy. You don't make any money by being an author, just so you know, not today, not unless you're working for one of the big publishing houses. Everybody else doesn't make a dime working your book. And so unless you team up with a whole bunch of other things to make it happen. But
I can attest to that because I am an author of 3 books and I'm not self-published and I don't make money. I give away more than I even make and I don't even care.
And that's right. And that's true of almost every author that you're going to run into. And so these guys call up and say, hey, I can make you a best-selling author, thinking I'm going to fall for this. And I said, how much? He says, $6,000. $6,000 so I can write 1 chapter in this book of 20 chapters and have Shark Tank's Kevin Harrington, Tony Robbins, and his picture on the cover. My picture didn't even get to go on the cover, right? They charge you $6,000 times 20 people in this. That's, $120,000? They're going to make $120,000 to publish this book that you can publish for about $2,500. Just so you know, you could do it for $2,500. They're making $120,000 because they're snoozing you, whatever you want to call it. They're schmoozing you into paying $6,000 to become a best-selling author, and it just irks me. It's like the rich people should be helping the poor people, not getting richer and richer and richer. And so when I put together my speaker talks, it wasn't for me to get rich. It was for me to help other speakers at a reasonable price. And that's what I also do with my relationship. My job is to help you find a great relationship where you can find love and romance and passion and friendship for the rest of your life. And that's what it should be all about.
That's right. And that's what I'm about. When I get sponsors, it's to help someone be successful.
See, when people sponsor my speaker talk, They get their name on everything we do to promote. They get their name on the backdrop, on the stage, so that people see their name. And that's what you do on your podcast. You
Yes.
give people the opportunity to be heard
Yes.
and noticed.
That's right.
And that's why your podcast is growing.
Yes, yes. And it's growing and growing and growing, and I'm just thrilled, and I'm so thankful. I'm blessed, and it's because I'm not greedy. It's because I'm not in it to make money, because I'm not in it for anything but to help people and to be there for people who need a voice and for people who need to know what to do with their dream and not to give up on that dream, and let someone who is successful share their dream like yourself and help people to achieve their dreams and tell them how to do it, and that if you can do it and I can do it, they can do it.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And it's the tenacity to do it, as well as asking people for help. So when you meet people who are successful and where you want to be, just say, how did you get there? Right? How did you get there? And I'll tell you the truth. I read tons of books. I attended tons of workshops and seminars. I met with the gurus, you know.
Yes.
I met with the Leo Buscaglia, who wrote the Love Book, right, from 30 years ago. He, to me, was the epitome of love. And so when you mentor with somebody like that, your life changes.
It does.
And that's the kind of thing most people don't understand, that Tony Robbins his mentor was Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn taught Tony Robbins how to be a great speaker. Tony Robbins, of course, developed his own style and everything.
Yes.
But he had a mentor.
Yes.
And if you look at all these other gurus, you'll find they have mentors that brought them along.
Yes.
And that's what you have to look for.
You have to have a mentor. I read Zig Ziglar and Norman Vincent Peale, and I read a lot of books like that about how to be rich quick and all that. I read all that stuff. I read everything, just like I read everyone's biography in Hollywood, because I wanted to know how they overcame abuse. I needed to find out if anyone else went through the abuse. And so you learn from other people's lives, and you learn and you apply it to your life, and it works. It really does.
It really does. That's right. That's what most people don't understand. I forget what show I'm watching. I'm watching some TV show, but it's called A Million Little Things. And one of the things on this show was this lady had failed at a restaurant before, and then she decided that she was going to open up a restaurant again. And she got one of the successful restaurateurs, a guy who had 7 restaurants and was doing really well, and she got him to invest with her. And as he stands trying to help her by saying, you need to change this and you need to do this, she rebelled. She said, I didn't invite you in here to tell me how to run my restaurant, and I'm just losing my mind. You know, in the TV show, she's going to work out fine, because that's what TV does, is gives you happy endings most of the time. But in real life, if you were to have somebody with that kind of knowledge come on board with you, and you said no to them,
Yes.
you deserve to fail. That's all it is, because that's what we have people for.
Yes.
Successful people can teach us so much.
Yes. Yes.
And all we have to do is ask.
That's
all we have
right.
to do is ask. Yep. You also have to pay sometimes, but getting the right. If a matter of fact, I've got a friend, Andy, just connected with him again. Knew him from 20 years ago. He's much younger than me, and he was fairly successful when he met me. I was a real estate appraiser at one point in time, and he needed to pick my brain about real estate. But he was fairly successful, probably a millionaire in terms of having these buildings under his belt. Fast forward 20 years, now he's 40-something years old, and he is worth more than $15 million.
That's incredible.
And it's because he had people help him. He came to me and said, Steve, you know about real estate appraising. Teach me about this. And I spent about 6 months teaching him about the real estate that he was looking at and investing in. Then he went to somebody else who knew something else about another business. Then he went to somebody else. And the best thing I can tell you is he asked people for help. He paid for help, right, when it was the right time.
Yes.
And now he's worth, $15 million. How'd you like that in your life, huh?
Well, that'd be amazing. That's wonderful. I'm happy where I am as far as finances, but hey, I'm always there's more room if I work hard for it and I have the passion for it. You have that possibility. And anyone can make money. I don't despise or I'm not jealous of anyone who's rich because they worked hard for their money. Some inherited, hey, wonderful. I didn't get inheritance, but if they did, God bless them. I've been working since I was 14, and I'm happy working. I love working. And I don't do one thing. I do many things. I love it, and I can't help it. And I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm also a kind of a life coach too, because I've been mentoring young girls and women about life and abuse and how to survive and how not to be victims. And I've done that through the years, and this is stuff I like. And I like having shows like this. Huh?
Yeah, and when you have a passion, it shows. And
yes.
I tell people all the time, I would speak for free if I had other income coming in. I mean, I got to make a living speaking.
Sure.
But I love it so much I would speak for free.
Yes.
When you're at that place in your life that you could do this for free, right?
Yes.
Then you know you're on the right track, and
yes.
that makes a world of difference in your life. And I think that's
right.
I don't know how we're going to wrap up this show, but boy, just finding that out is
well,
probably...
let's say that right now. Let's talk about how the audience can connect with you, how they can find out about your speaker talks, and anything else that you want to tell them to reach out to you.
Yeah, I'll make this short and sweet. And my name, again, is Steve Sapato. You can look me up on the internet. Just Google Steve Sapato, Sapato. But you can come to speakertalks.com. We have both the stage version and the audience version. If you go there, you'll see how to connect with that. Then you'll also go to stevesapatoseminars.com. And you can reach me at my email, which is steve@stevesapato.com. steve@stevesapato.com. Reach out to me. Ask me whatever you want to ask me. Let's make a connection if it's going to help you become the person that you want to become.
I love it. I love it. And you have given us so much information. And I love learning, and knowledge is beautiful. And learning new things is wonderful. And we all have something to contribute from our experiences and our talents. And we all have something to offer. Everyone has something to offer. Everyone does. And thank you so much, Steve, for being on my show. I loved it. I thank you so much. And I'll have you back again next year.
That'd be great. I'd love it.
Yes. Thank you so much. God bless you. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks a lot, Nadia.
I want to thank my guest, Steve Sapato, for being on my show. Thank you so much, Steve. You sure gave us a lot to think about. I love all the things you said. They're all true. I have lived some of it, I know, and I love the positivity in your speaking and everything that you have given to us today. Thank you so much for who you are and for sharing your knowledge with us. How about you? Are you ready to live your dream? Are you ready to take hold and stand up and fight and have passion for what you want to do with your life without having someone get in the way? Get going. Do it. Don't give up. It's time for you. It's time. You can do it. Steve did it. I did it. We all have done it. You can do it too. Are you living your dream?
Thanks for tuning in with Nadia and her guests. For more info, episodes, and connection, please visit our website, thenadiasaharishow.com. Share episodes with your friends. Follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Instagram, and most importantly, never give up. Live your dream.
Latin Connection magazine is a family magazine featuring people of influence, cultural events, and traditions, recipes and photos of Latin food, Hispanics in business. Plus, get news on Latin festivals, Latin entertainment, and Latinos in the fashion industry, and see photos of Latinos in action all over the U.S. Conoce tu vecino y mucho más. We invite you to share your special event with us at LatinConnectionMag.com. Latin Connection Magazine. Conexión Latina y mucho más. Latin Connection Magazine. It's for anyone and everyone to enjoy. no matter who you are.